I want to talk to you today about the cure for the common life, which is, of course, the title of one of Max Lucado's books. I Googled it. He sold 150 million copies of various books. And one of my favorite books that he's read, and I, of course, hadn't read nearly anything like all of them, but one of my favorite books of Max Lucado was this book right here, The Cure for the Common Life. And on the cover of that book, he's got an old dog laying on a couch. And I think the idea of that word picture is instead of having a life that looks like this, like an old dog laying on a couch doing nothing, maybe thinking it's happy because it doesn't have to get up and do anything, we want to be a dog that looks like this, that's up and going and doing, and we want to talk today about how to live that kind of life. And by the way, before you tell me you're too old to live that kind of life, I want to tell you about my friend's dad who is 90 years old. And last week he ran his first ever in his life. At 90 years old, he ran a marathon. And it is a good reminder to us that you cannot necessarily do everything. Sometimes motivational speakers will tell you, you can do anything you put your mind to do. Well, I'm not sure that you can do anything you can put your mind to do, but you can, generally speaking, do a lot more than you think you can. And so we want to talk about how to find the cure to the common life. Max Lucado, of course, fills his books with stories, and he tells this story. He says, I encountered walking proof of this truth, the truth that we can find the cure to the common life in a trip to Central America. Dave, a fellow American, was celebrating his 61st birthday, not as old as my friend's dad, but still not a young man either, a 61st birthday, with friends at the language school where my daughter was studying Spanish. My question, what brings you here? Opened a biographical floodgate. Drugs, sex, and rock and roll. Drugs, sex, divorce, jail time. Dave's first 4 decades read like a gangsta's diary. But then God called him. And just as God called Moses and Paul and millions, God called Dave and God called you, and he called us to live an uncommon life. His explanation went something like this. I've always been able to fix things. When I look back at my childhood, that's going to be a big point that Max Lucado gets to in this book. But he says, when I look back over my life, I've always been a fixer. I've been able to fix stuff, physical stuff. All my life, when stuff was broken, people came to me. A friend told me about poor children in Central America, so I came up with an idea. I had an idea, one of my favorite all-time saying, you want to hear the idea of the day, and this man had an idea of the day. And his idea was, I'm going to find homes where 2 things are true, where there is no father and there's no plumbing. And where there is no father and there is no plumbing, I install sinks and I install toilets and I love on the kids. That is how I found the cure to the common life. That's what I do. That's what I was made to do. Have you discovered what you were made to do? That's what we're going to talk about in today's teaching. Sounds like Dave has found the cure for the common life. He's living in his sweet spot. What about you? What have you always done well? What have you always loved to do? And at the intersection of your everyday life and your strengths, you do something to the glory of God. I would put it this way. You find the intersection of my strengths and my opportunities, what is in front of me, and what are the needs of others, and the intersection of those is how you can bring glory to God and find the cure to the common life. So here's our verse we want to look at. I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God. I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. So as we seek to understand any passage, we want to look at the overall context. 1 Corinthians 3, 1 through 15. Brothers and sisters, I could not address you as people who live by the Spirit, but as people who are still worldly, mere infants. Many churches follow the doctrine of the eternal childhood of the believer. It was true of the Corinthians. I gave you milk, not solid food, for you were not yet ready for it, although you should have been ready. Indeed, you are still not ready for that solid food. You're still worldly. Sin. I know that because there's quarreling, there's jealousy, there's fighting. Have you ever known a church that fought with each other? He says it's sure evidence that you are still worldly, that you are babies if there's jealousy and quarreling among you. Are you not still worldly? Are you not acting like mere humans? For one says, I follow Paul, another, I follow Apollos. Are you not acting like mere humans? What is, after all, Apollos? What is, after all, Paul? Only servants, through whom you came to believe, as the Lord has assigned to each his task. What do we learn about living the uncommon life from that? As the Lord has assigned to each his task. I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. So neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God who makes things grow. The one who plants and the one who waters have one purpose. I come back and ask again, what do we learn about the cure for the common life from that phrase right there? The one who plants and the one who waters have one purpose, and they will be rewarded. Rewards are promised to us in Scripture on the basis of works. We are saved by grace through faith, but rewards are given to us on the basis of works, as this verse and others say. For we are co-workers in God's service. You are God's field, God's building. By the grace God has given me, I laid the foundation as a wise builder, and someone else is building on it. I don't build very well. All I do is lay foundations, but each one should build with care. And I come back and ask again, what do we learn about the cure for the common life from that line right there? Each one should build with care. For no one can lay any foundation other than the one already laid, which is Jesus Christ. For if anyone builds on this foundation using gold, silver, costly stones, wood, hay, or straw, their work will be shown for what it is, because the day will bring it to light. It will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test the quality of each person's work. If what has been built survives, the builder will receive a reward. If it is burned up, the builder will suffer loss, but yet will be saved, even though only as one escaping through the flames. But here's our key verse. I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. 4 observations about how to live the uncommon life, how to find the cure for the common life. The cure for the common life we find in this passage is living on a purpose. He says, the one who plants and the one who waters have one purpose, and they will be rewarded according to their own labor. And what is the purpose that God has given you? There's a few things I want you to know. 2 o'clock in the morning, I want you to know. In other words, if I were to call you at 2 o'clock in the morning and ask you, what is your purpose? Would you say without stuttering, what is your purpose? Rick Warren says the purpose of your life is far greater than your own personal fulfillment, your peace of mind, or even your happiness. It's far greater than your family, your career, and even your wildest dreams and ambitions. If you want to know why you were placed on this planet, if you want to find the cure for the common life, you must begin with God and bringing Him glory. You were born by His purpose and for His purpose. And Jesus taught us to pray and reminded us of our purpose when He taught us to pray, your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven, and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I believe that is our purpose, to bring His kingdom in my life as it is in heaven, and to bring His will being done on earth as it is in heaven. In other words, to make the world more like heaven, to cooperate with Him, to be the answer of our own prayer. Thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I believe that is a statement of our purpose. Max Lucado says His kingdom needs you. He doesn't need you, but His kingdom needs you. The poor need you. The lonely need you. Your church needs you. Your people and the kids in the preschool area need you. The cause of God needs you. You are part of the overall purpose He is working out in everything and everyone. Kingdom needs you to discover and deploy your unique skill. Second observation, most things that need to be done to make the world more like heaven, most of them I cannot do. That is His whole point in saying, I planted the seed. I was good at planting, but what I was not good at doing was watering. And if you think through how things are actually grown, he's reduced this to only 2 sentences for the sake of brevity and literary clarity, you might say. But if you think about farming, there's a whole lot more that needs to be done. There's the cultivating of the land before the seed is planted. There's the watering, there's the weeding, there's eventually the harvesting, there's the dealing with the crop, there's the transporting of the crop, there's the processing of the crop. There's all kinds of things that need to be done to get this crop onto the kitchen tables of people who need this food. And Paul said, I can only do one of those things. And the whole idea is most things I can't do. I'm not very good at watering. I'm not very good at cultivating. I'm not very good at harvesting. I'm not very good at weeding. But this one thing I do. This one thing I can do. There's most things I can't do, but I can do one thing. And the one thing I can do is I'm pretty good at planting seeds. Have you discovered what you're pretty good at doing? Because I can't do everything, I realize I'm dependent. Townsend and Cloud talk about the idea that we have the ability to ask for help from God and from others. And sometimes we are humble enough, on a good day, we're humble enough to ask for help from God. But oftentimes we hesitate to ask for help from God, from others. This is the essence of humility. We recognize that we cannot do it alone. We can't change. We can't stop spending money compulsively or stop being depressed or stop an eating disorder, but we can ask God for help and we can ask others for help. We are dependent. Third observation, we have a cause. We can't do most things. And the third observation, a few things we can do. I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. Most things I can't do, there's one thing I can do, and that is I can plant seeds, which means I'm important. I mentioned a week or two back about this wonderful book, and I think I've mentioned all 7 of these power beliefs, these beliefs that contribute to our happiness. I only mentioned 3 here, but if we believe, secular science reveals that if we believe that my behavior matters, we tend to be happier, and it's what the Bible teaches. If we come to believe that I have something to give, we tend to be happier, and it's what the Bible teaches. And if we come to believe this work that I do, this work is meaningful, we will tend to be happier, and it's what the Bible teaches. Well, what can you do? Have you discovered it? Well, Max Lucado has a wonderful little riff about how we might discover what God has called us to do so that we can find the cure for the common life.
Your sweet spot. You have one. Each person is given something to do that shows who God is. 1 Corinthians 12:7. Sweet spot. Golfers understand the term. So do tennis players. Ever swung a baseball bat or paddled a ping pong ball? If so, you know the oh-so-nice feel of the sweet spot. Connect with those prime inches of real estate and kapow! The collective technologies of the universe afterburn the ball into orbit, leaving you frisbee-eyed and strutting. Your arm doesn't tingle, and the ball doesn't ricochet. Your boyfriend remembers birthdays, the tax refund comes early, and the flight attendant bumps you up to first class. Life in the sweet spot rolls like the downhill side of a downwind bike ride. But you don't have to swing a bat or club to know this. What engineers give sports equipment, God gave you. A zone, a region, a life precinct in which you were made to dwell. He tailored the curves of your life to fit an empty space in His jigsaw puzzle. And life makes sweet sense when you find your spot. But how do you? Where do you go? What pills do you order? Class do you take? Or infomercial do you watch? None of the above. Simply quarry your uniqueness. Da Vinci painted one Mona Lisa. Beethoven composed 1/5 symphony. And God made one version of you. He custom designed you for a one-of-a-kind assignment. Mine like a gold digger the unique to you nuggets from your life. When I was 6 years old, my father built us a house. Architectural Digest didn't notice, but my mom sure did. Dad constructed it board by board every day after work. My youth didn't deter him from giving me a job. He tied an empty nail apron around my waist, placed a magnet in my hands, and sent me on daily patrols around the building site, carrying my magnet only inches off the ground. One look at my tools and you could guess my job: stray nail collector. One look at yours and the same can be said. Brick by brick, life by life, God is creating a kingdom, a spiritual house. 1 Peter 2:5. He entrusted you with a key task in the project. Examine your tools and discover it. Your ability unveils your destiny. If anyone ministers, let him do it as with the ability which God supplies, that in all things God may be glorified through Jesus Christ. 1 Peter 4:11. When God gives an assignment, He also gives the skill. Study your skills, then, to reveal your assignment. Look at you. Your uncanny ease with numbers, your quenchless curiosity about chemistry. Others stare at blueprints and yawn. You read them and drool. I was made to do this, you say. Heed that inner music. No one else hears it the way you do. At this very moment in another section of the church building in which I write, little kids explore their tools. Preschool classrooms may sound like a cacophony to you and me, but God hears a symphony. A 5-year-old sits at a crayon-strewn table. He seldom talks. Classmates have long set aside their papers, but he ponders his. The colors compel him. He marvels at the gallery of Kelly green and navy blue and royal purple. Masterpiece in hand, he'll race to Mom and Dad, eager to show them his kindergarten Picasso. His sister, however, forgets her drawing. She won't consume the home commute with tales of painted pictures. She'll tell tales of tales. The teacher told us a new story today, and the girl will need no prodding to repeat it. Another boy cares less about the story and the drawings and more about the other kids. He spends the day wearing a "hey, listen to me" expression, lingering in front of the class, testing the patience of the teacher. He relishes attention, evokes reactions. His theme seems to be, "do it this way, come with me, let's try this." Meaningless activities at an insignificant age, or subtle hints of hidden strengths. I opt for the latter. The quiet boy with the color fascination may someday brighten city walls with murals. His sister may pen a screenplay or teach literature to curious co-eds. And the kid who recruits followers today eventually might do the same on behalf of a product, the poor, or even his church. What about you? Our Maker gives assignments to people, to each according to each one's unique ability. Matthew 25:15. As he calls, he equips. Look back over your life. What have you consistently done well? What have you loved to do? Stand at the intersection of your affections and successes and find your uniqueness. You have one, a divine spark, an uncommon call to an uncommon life. The Spirit has given each of us a special way of serving others. 1 Corinthians 12:7. So much for the excuse, "I don't have anything to offer." Did the Apostle Paul say, "The Spirit has given some of us," or "The Spirit has given a few of us"? No. The Spirit has given each of us a special way of serving others. Enough of this self-deprecating "I can't do anything," and enough of its arrogant opposite, "I have to do everything." No, you don't. You're not God's solution to society, but a solution in society. Imitate Paul, who said, "Our goal is to stay within the boundaries of God's plan for us." 2 Corinthians 10:13. Clarify your contribution. Don't worry about skills you don't have. Don't covet strengths others do have. Just extract your uniqueness. Kindle afresh the gift of God which is in you. 2 Timothy 1:6. And do so to make a big deal out of God. Everything comes from God alone. Everything lives by His power, and everything is for His glory. Romans 11:36. The breath you just took? God gave that. The blood that just pulsed through your heart? Credit God. The light by which you read and the brain with which you process? He gave both. Everything comes from Him and exists for Him. We exist to exhibit God, to display His glory. We serve as canvases for His brushstroke, papers for His pen, soil for His seeds, glimpses of His image. Each person is given something to do that shows who God is. 1 Corinthians 12:7.
I think about this principle. I think the work I do in search and rescue. We've actually been a little bit busy the last few weeks. Here's a picture of an ATV that turned over. A family of 4 was in this ATV, and it was about 10 o'clock at night, I believe, when we got the call, dead of darkness. And through using the drone, we were actually able to find that ATV. But you know what we were not able to do with our drone? You know what our drone did not do, has never done? It didn't actually get the people off the mountain. We did find the ATV, but it was another group that was able to actually get the people off the mountain. And here's another picture of some other people. This is about 2 miles up, and it's late in the day. You can't really tell from the picture, but it really actually is getting dark. The sun is setting at this point. One of the gentlemen in this picture is a type 1 diabetic, and they've run out of food, they've run out of water, they've run out of energy, and they're about to run out of daylight, and we found them. We flew that drone up there, and we found them. But you know what we didn't do at that drone? We didn't haul them off the mountains. We are dependent. That's the whole idea. We can do something. That's the whole idea I want to try to demonstrate to you. We can do something, but we need other people to do other things, and so it is in the kingdom of God, that we do what we can do, but other people do what they can do. Fourth observation, last observation, what I can do, I should do, and I should do it with wholeheartedness and excellence. The Bible says each one should build with care. If you plant, plant with care. If you harvest, harvest with care. If you water, water with care. If you weed, weed with care. Whatever you do, do it with care. The NIV has it, be careful how he builds. In other words, the idea is don't confuse mediocrity with humility. I don't particularly like the song all that well, but I do love the words to this song. Give of your best. Give of your very, very best to the Master. Give of the strength of your youth. Throw your soul's fresh, glowing ardor into the battle of truth. And I've heard it a million times. It shows up with musicians, particularly because they're actually on the stage and they're talking. And sometimes they'll introduce their song and say, you know what, I didn't get a chance to practice my song all that much this week, but just look at my heart. And I want to say, I don't want to look into your heart. I got a good heart. I want to listen to your voice. And I want to know that you did practice, and I want to know that you did give of your best to the Master. And I've been in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of churches doing conferences over the years, and many of them growing, probably about half of them growing. I'm in an above average cross section of churches as a generalization. And you know what I find about those churches that are growing compared to the churches that are not? They just do things a little bit better. In other words, somehow they figured out a way to make their nursery not smell like a dirty diaper. The words in the bulletin are all spelled correctly. The piano is in tune, and everything they do is just done with excellence. And as I look around the world, we stayed in a Holiday Inn on a trip last week, and it looked like a decent enough Holiday Inn, but they were completely redecorating it. And I think about a McDonald's not too far from me. And a few years back, they completely leveled the place and rebuilt it because businesses, and we'll talk about this next week, that the people of this world tend to be more shrewd than us church people. And businesses know that people like nice new spaces to do whatever it is we're trying to get them to do. In the case of McDonald's, to eat. In the case of Holiday Inn, to stay in a room. And in church world, we ought to have the best buildings we can get. We ought to have the best buildings we can afford, or at least as good a buildings as a McDonald's is. We ought to give of our best to the Master. We ought to get the music as good as we can get it and the preaching as good as we can get it. I think I've told you this story about a Sunday school teacher years ago. I was sitting in his class and he read from the text where it says, Judas, son of perdition. And he looked at the text and he looked at the class and he said, now, predestination, who really understands predestination? And I looked at the passage and I thought to myself, that word is not predestination, that word is perdition. And it occurred to me as I reflected on that, I thought, you know what? If he had spent 1 hour with a commentary, if he had spent 1 hour reading his quarterly, reading his student book, reading his teacher's book, he would have figured out that this word is not predestination, the word is perdition. Here's my guess. It's only a guess, but this is my guess, and I think I'm right. And that is, I think he was looking at that text for the very first time that morning. I hear it in preachers groups fairly regularly where they have Sunday school teachers in their church, adult Sunday school teachers who just simply read the quarterly every week. They just go around the room and pass around the quarterlies and say, you read page 35 and you read page 36 and you read page 37. And we wonder why our Sunday schools are not growing. And I want to say to you, give of your best. Is that the best you can do? Is that the best you can do for whatever you do, whether it's teaching Sunday school or singing or teaching in a public school or being a carpenter or whatever it is that you do? If you want to find the cure for the common life, give of your best to the Master. Realize that you are a man on a mission, that you have a cause, that you can't do everything. In fact, most things you can't do. But there's a few things that you can do, and you want to figure out what those things are, and then you want to do those things with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And may God richly bless you as you discuss these truths with friends together.